Henry, remember, don't buy anything big. This is just a little taste. You did a good job. Let's enjoy this.
In smoky rooms where deals are made, loyalty the ace he's played. A friend of ours, he'll stand up tall. Through gunfire smoke, he'll never fall. With heart of gold and steel resolve, a mystery we'll never solve.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the Friend of Ours podcast. This is a limited edition series hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Rasslin, and of course, the legend, okay? A guy who truly is the definition of a stand-up guy, our man, Big Vito LoGrasso. How you doing there, Vito?
I'm doing fine, Duke, and I hope you're doing well. To all our listeners, thank you very much. We had a great response for our first podcast. I thought it was awesome. And this is what wise guys do. You know, John Gotti was the Teflon Don. Big Vito LoGrasso is going to be more than John Gotti.
Wow. Okay. Listen, that doesn't mean that all of you wise guys out there are going to start making calls and whatever. Hey, Big Vito's back in the game. Listen, we don't want those problems. He's the Don of wrestling, and that's it. All right, we're going to leave it at that.
Duke, it's Christmas time. What do you do at Christmas time? You spread good cheer. You're supposed to be like full of kindness and giving and everything. And for the people out there who are having problems, always keep your chin up. Always show up. Never bow down. Pick yourself up. You're going to have a good Christmas. You're going to have a good New Year's. You're going to have a good holiday. Whether your family is your family or your family is of friends. Because your family is not who you start out with. Your family is who you end up with.
Ain't that the truth? And speaking of which, I want to thank everyone out there, including you, the Don, Big Vito, for all of the wonderful birthday wishes. I just celebrated a birthday. It was fantastic. It was relaxing. Spent time with family, did some shopping. Most importantly, I relaxed, which is very, very important. I wanted to ask you, though, because I was wondering about this. If you think back to times where you were back home and, back in the day where everything was going on and you had legitimate friends of ours who were doing their thing and what have you.
Right.
When it came time to celebrate somebody's birthday, celebrate a holiday, what have you, I want you to take me and the listeners to the best celebration that you can remember, not with family, but with, friends of ours. Talk to me about a time where you were out and about and you were celebrating something. What was it like?
All right, guys. Everybody knows that my career has been very well documented of every place I've been. And when you talk about the wise guys and you talk about who's who during a celebration every Thursday night at the bistro in Staten Island, because I happened to be off, I went in and it was gentlemen who were empowered by Italian heritage sitting there in their tables. Now, me coming in and everybody knowing me from Staten Island and being in my hometown, I made sure I went to everyone's table, said hello, shook hands with every guy, every wise guy. That's not because I was trying to ask for anything, but it was a due of respect. Vito, can you have a drink with me? Vito, why don't you sit down and have a drink? Vito, would you like to meet my wife? Vito, would you like to meet my goomar? And you talk about a thing of respect that was carried out because how I was brought up and how a certain club is portrayed That is what you're talking about in front of celebration, because it's not just about going out and being, hey, how you doing with this? Everybody wants to be a phony wise guy, but when you're standing in front of wise guys and gentlemen of that heritage who have made their bones in life, and they ask you to come to their table and to sit down and have a drink, that's an honor and a show of respect. So when you talk about celebrations, that is a celebration in itself, because we all know what it is, but to show respect for what it is, that's the difference.
I've heard a lot about when somebody, offers you a drink or offers to buy you a bottle or something like that, it would be
Yeah.
disrespectful to turn it down. And if you turn it down, that could actually turn into a problem. That's what we see in the movies and stuff like that. But as a guy, a real Italian, a guy who's been around the life and what have you, is that a real thing? Could you find yourself in a bad situation if you say no when a wise guy offers you a drink?
Here's the thing, people know that I was not a drinker, or I was not a guy who sat at the bar and drank, you know what I mean? So if they asked me to sit down, I said, hey, thank you very much. I'll sit down for a while. Hey, can I buy you a drink? No, I'm okay. That's so good. And it was a respectful thing. It's not like you'd send it, nah, I don't want your drink. I don't want your bottle, trying to be bigger than what they are. But if you do it in a way where they respect you, you respect them, and you're just happy to sit with them and talk, I think the talk is more important than you accepting the drink, because they respect you more, because you're not asking for something for free, or you're not there for a drink. It's just a cordial way to break open a conversation. And I've had many conversations with a lot of people. And you know what? I didn't need a drink. It was good to sit down, meet their families, meet their wife, meet their gumad if they were out with their kids. You know what I mean? In an adult setting. That's what's more important, is a respect thing. And I think people overlook that, and they take it for granted, about mafia lifestyle, or who you are in that Italian heritage, world. And Vito LoGrasso was always respected, because I made my bones in the neighborhood, and I made myself, I wouldn't say famous, but they knew I was accountable, and I showed up when I had to show up. And I think you heard that expression more than once, Duke. When you show up for what you need to show up for, I think people respect you even more.
You brought it up, so I got to ask you because this was the big thing last week, our last episode there, which was the first episode of the Friend of Ours podcast. People were
Word.
over the moon about this Gumad stuff. So, one of the questions that a listener sent in was, "What are the rules when it comes to the Gumad? What are the rules?" And I'm not talking about basic stuff. I'm talking about when it comes to somebody who wants to be a Gumad and maybe she's related to a wise guy, or somebody who was a Gumad for a different wise guy, and now they're trying to talk to you. What are the rules when it comes to that sort of thing?
When you're talking about having a gumad and you're married, and your gumad is the lady who you take out on a certain night or nights, and you spend time with the lady because you treat her like a lady. Maybe you're not getting the same things at home, maybe things are difficult, but being a gumad is somebody like, it's side girlfriend, a side bestie. I say it politely for all our listeners out there. Friends with benefits kind of thing. But when you live in the lifestyle, it's you take the gumad out to the same restaurant on Thursday, but Saturday, you're taking your wife there, and nobody says anything about who you're sitting with and what you're doing. And when you're with your gumad, you never kissy face, or you never over exaggerate your relationship, people already know what it is. And people who understand the lifestyle, they accept it because this is what it is and this is how it is in our life. So the gumad, she gets benefits of being with somebody, but in a certain way, the gentleman who has the gumad gets certain benefits. Well, maybe the wife is not, how would you say, you know, maybe things go sour in a marriage and maybe things are not on that level, but then you find somebody new. And listen, guys, this doesn't go for everybody. This is just like me saying, you could be married to somebody for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, which is a great thing. Are you going to be head over heels in love with that person for 40 or 50 years? You hope so. Some people have ups and downs, some people have good days and bad days. But some people, if you remember the song, you lost that loving feeling, and some people just stay out of convenience. But everybody needs that companion in life where, hey, I need an outlet, or I'm working 24 hours a day, I'm not getting stuff at home, and this is what it is. It's just like in Goodfellas, Henry. You gotta go home. We can't have this. It is what it is. But eventually you got to go home. And Paulie says, I'll talk to her. I'll make everything nice. Go back to when first beginning. I know how to handle this situation. But on the second thought, if you're not married and if you're not happy in your marriage, and this is outside the box, guys, if you're not happy in your marriage, what's to say, hey, I think it's time maybe we split up or we do things. Some people do it as a convenience, some people do it as, spite. But a gumad, what happens when the wife goes out and gets a goomba? And I've been in that position before where, wise, I'll give you the best story ever. So here I am going to the bistro and, I'm doing my thing and I am full of ladies and acting like a gentleman and like I got it coming and going. So one night I meet this blonde. She was beautiful. I mean, blonde hair, blue eyes. Oh my God. So she came over to me, wanted to, oh yeah, I'll dance. Her girlfriend came and grabbed her away from me. And I was like, okay, what the hell? So she left. I come back the next week. I'm standing at the bar with one of my guys. Vito, I want to be like you. I see you with every friggin' woman in this place. They're with you. I want that lifestyle. I says, well, what about your wife? She's a pain in the ass. I can't stand her. She's this, she's that, the other thing. So we're standing at the bar, and then all of a sudden, this blonde comes up and says hello. So the guy at the bar says, this is my wife. And I just looked at him and I looked at her, and she goes, Vito, do me a favor, go dance with her. And I was like, oh no, this can't be. This is the lady from last week, the beautiful blonde, who is my friend's wife. So I had to dance with her because he was a wise guy. My husband said, you have to dance with me, so you have to dance with me. And let me tell you something. I've never been so abused, grinded, and manipulated in my life on that one night. She goes to kiss me. She kisses me square on the lips. I says, your husband is standing right there. She says, you're crazy. She says, my husband said for you to take care of me and dance with me, so that's what I'm doing. I go back over to my friend and I excuse myself from her. I says, okay, let me go. So she held on to me and grinded me a little more. I says, come on, you can make this bad. So I gentlemanly left my position. So I walk over to the bar and I looked at him. I said, bro, I said, That's your wife. She goes, yeah, she's a pain in the ass. I can't stand her. I said, my friend, she is the hottest thing in this club. She was. I'm not lying to you guys. She was the best looking female in the club. I says, I said, what happened? Ah, she just breaks my balls. She breaks this. That. I said, bro, I said, you forgot how to work the controls because that is what you want to take home at night, not any of these other chicks. Yeah, but I said, I'm not married. And I wasn't married at the time. I says, yeah, I could take home anybody I want. I said, but you have a wife that looks like that. I said, you know, you just don't know how to work the controls no more. You're lost. So it was like guys in their 40s trying to relive this life or being single and looking at me and talking to all these broads. But you know what? When it came time down to it, some people's wives, are beautiful. They just lose interest, and what can you do? And that's the life of a gumad. I mean, they get the perks, they get the nice gifts, they get the romance that they lost with their wives. But here it is, guys, and that's the role. Just never take them to the opera because you get busted, moonstruck.
That's some valuable information there. So you said there's the Gumas and then there's the Goomba. We've heard the term Goomba before, but this is basically the male Gumad.
So when you're talking about being a goomba, now during my single days, there were ladies who said they were separated, they're not living with their husbands, whatever, and they would come over and do what, we'd have a good night, do our thing. I'll give you a for instance. There was a couple ladies who I was dating. They were married. I didn't know they were married, but then they said they were married. So we were already into this. So they came over. We had our time, and every lady who ever came to my home, I always treated them like a lady. I treated them good. I gave them wine. We did our thing. We had good camaraderie. And some ladies, I actually clicked with. And I said, man, if you weren't married, there'd be something. So one lady one night, she goes, it was about 9 o'clock. She goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting ready to go out. She goes, what do you mean go out? I said, I'm getting ready to go out. She goes, but I'm leaving. I says, yeah, you're going home to your husband and your children. I says, and why should I sit here by myself and cry? I says, I'm going to go out and have a good time. I'm going to the clubs. This is not right. I said, listen, you're married. I am not. And we have our time and I enjoy you. And what I used to tell ladies was, if you're going to come over and have a good adult conversation, a good adult time, and you want to enjoy yourself, hey, this is where you want to be. If you're going to give me drama and you're going to give me a bunch of nonsense, I'm not interested. And I stated that from the beginning. I just want to have a good time, want to have a good adult conversation. I want to enjoy you, enjoy our time together, but I'm not attached to nobody. Were there some ladies who were that I clicked with were like, man, if she wasn't married, yes, absolutely. There were some ladies who were like fabulous, and and there were all the ladies who I overdated during that time were fabulous. They all had something special. They didn't have to be the 10 of 10 in looks, but if you were a 10 of 10 in personality and a good time, I enjoyed that more than anything.
So let's go for another question here, because one of our listeners asked the whole concept of a guy who goes away for a little while. He's got to go sit down, right? Goes upstate, what have you, does his time for whatever. He's gone for a period of time, and other people have to take over the territory while he's gone. What happens when he comes out and you already have other people who are running the rackets and doing whatever they're doing? But this was what this guy's territory was. How does the folks in the life navigate those types of situations? Because when you get home, you want to get back going, But you got these younger guys or these other guys over here who took over. What do you do?
So what usually happens if you go away for somebody and you do some time and you had uh, established business opportunities, usually the person in charge of your family made sure that your family was taken care of. You didn't have to worry financially about your wife and kids being having money. That was all done. Then once you get out, and then like you see in the movie Sopranos or Goodfellas or Casino or The Godfather, usually they'll say, "Don't worry, we'll take care of you." Even just like in Tulsa King, where Stallone comes out from serving 25 years, and then he goes to have a meeting, and they tell him there's nothing left for you here. He said, but he took the rap and he lost his family, lost his daughter, lost everybody. And he says, there's nothing left for me. And the guy makes a smart remark. And of course, you get cracked because that's what you deserve. You're speaking out of line. And they give him a town to go make bones somewhere else. But when and like they don't give him, they might give him like some money to get established, but then he's got to kick up to the big guy for what you're going to earn. Usually, what happens is they work you in back slowly while they compensate you. And then once you can get established in either taking over your old neighborhood or you're starting something new and fresh, it just depends on how they work it. But there's always, if there's, you went away for something significant, they always take care of you and you're always going to have something.
I wonder because I've even heard you in conversation talking about the old days, not talking about anything current, folks, talking about the old days, and you made reference to so and so could use a good slap in the teeth. But then we have the situations where you actually punch somebody. How do you make the distinction between a slap and a punch, and what do they actually mean? What's the symbolism of each action?
Well, if you're having to sit down and somebody, during the sit down gets out of line, giving an open hand slap is more or less like a wake up call. Hey, I'm not taking your shit. I'm gonna fucking destroy you, or you're gonna wind up outside a second floor window or a sixth floor window. The other thing is when somebody needs to be straightened out, you don't do it in front of anybody, but you do it at a time when both of you are alone. And if you have to, wise them up and you throw them a beating, then that's how you make the difference of an open hand slap, a wake up call, or if you're going to be a stubborn son of a bitch, I'm going to take a sledgehammer and try to crack your head open. I'm going to headbutt your face if you get in my face, and you're not going to disrespect me no matter no where, no how, no matter how many guys you got behind you. I'm standing tall, and I don't need a backup. I'm Vito LoGrasso. I'm going to come after you.
Is there a point where you allow guys to have a one on one and they settle it amongst themselves, as opposed to I got to step in, I got to jump in and help my buddy out? Where's the line on something like that?
You know, Duke, like the word sit down. When you have a sit down and you're talking, it's a negotiation. Okay. And in this negotiation, you're trying to come up with a solution without nobody being touched. You're trying to talk as gentlemen. And when you're sitting in the middle as a consigliere or you're sitting there, trying to be the negotiator between two sides, and you're trying to do it on a gentleman's handshake or as wise guy respect. So if you could do it like that, I mean, not everything has to be a punch or a slap, but sometimes you just want to do it where you're sitting there as gentlemen, you're talking, you're discussing your grievances, you're the mediator behind it, and you come up with a solution so nobody has to go through any rough times. Because at the end of the day, if you have to slap somebody in the teeth and you got to give them an open hand slap just to wake them up because they think they're bigger than you or think they're more connected than you, or they think like they're gonna, you know, outgun you, it's not happening because they're new to this. And I've sat there during many times where people thought they were going to talk to me some way or treat me some way, and you don't know me, and you don't know where I've been, you don't know who I am, you don't know what I've done. And if I got to defend myself, there's no way in hell I'm letting you get the best of me, and I'm going to show up. And that's the way you handle your business. But when you talk about resolving problems, you want to resolve it as gentlemen. You hug and kiss at the end. And that's how what the family is about, camaraderie. You're talking about making amends. Because at the end of the day, say if Italians have to stand up for themselves, and you have a difference with somebody in an Italian neighborhood, or you're with a different family, and there's another kind of culture that comes to your doorstep. Are you going to say, hey, I'm not standing up for this guy? Or are you going to say, hey, brother, let's take care of our business and let's do this? I'm going to say, hey, I don't give a shit what the hell happened between us or our families. Let's take care of this and stand up like men. And that's how you get a bond, and that's how you develop stronger family ties.
You brought up a name last week, Big Ange, who was on that VH1 show Mob
Right.
Wives. And a lot of people perked up when they heard that. They said, oh, wow, Vito used to hang out at Big Ange's bar. That's amazing. I'm not saying you got to say any names.
Right.
So obviously, if there's a name that you can't say, that's fine. But talk to us about the women. Were there any other women who were just as stand up, just as serious in the life, and you knew not to cross them? Because that's not something that we normally hear a lot about. Did that exist, or is that a myth?
Well, Big Ange was ahead of her time before Mob Wives, and she's the focal point of Mob Wives. And then when all these um, lovely ladies came forward to partake in the series, they were related or married to famous wise guys like Sammy Gravano's daughter. Okay, now they're all beautiful ladies. They all have something to offer. A lot of them, they're there on their father's name or they're there on their husband's name. And they have that mentality where you're not going to mess with me or you're not going to fuck with me, which is real. You know what I mean? Because when you got the backing of somebody who's very powerful in the mafia lifestyle, they take it to another level. Now, acting like a lady is great. Acting like a gangster is taking it somewhere else. And when ladies are going to throw their hands, that means like, hey, you're not going to fuck with me either because this is how they were brought up. And it's all how you're brought up. And when your father tells you, you never take shit from nobody, you always show up. If somebody needs a slap, you better stand up and slap them. If you can't handle it, you better call me because I'll go over there and crack their head open. So Big Ange, you know, was a lovely lady. She did a lot of great things. She was a wonderful human being. And anytime you went in her company, you always felt good, but it was a respect thing for who she was associated with. Just like all the ladies who were in Mob Wives, you respected them because of who they were related to and what they brought to the table. And nobody wants to disrespect a lady, and that's just being a man and a gentleman. Because, like, at the end of the day, do you really want to disrespect a lady? Do you really want to throw hands with a lady? I don't. I never did. I still, till today, say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And I don't care who they are, they deserve that respect.
Indeed. Again, stand up guy. Stand up guy. On a lighter note, I know you're a guy who likes to host. When Big Vito throws a party or a gathering or what have you, it's always a good time, full of laughs and what have you. And beautiful home. You have all the fixings and what have you, which is just so cool. So talk to me about this. You're hosting a party. You're putting together your hors d'oeuvres. You're mixing drinks. What is the go-to standard for the Don Big Vito LoGrasso? Give me some appetizers and give me a drink recipe. What do we got going on for the holidays?
So, what do we got going on? When I throw a party, I've been throwing parties for the longest time since the day. I'll take it since the days, I met my wife, and I'm a big party guy, right? So even before then, if I was gonna have a party or throw parties, it was I make sure I have a full stock bar in my home. I make sure there's more than enough food to eat. I make sure everybody has a good time. I'll stand behind the bar and make drinks all night long. I'll go to the grill or I'll have it catered to where everybody can take to go plate, desserts. But the biggest thing is making sure everybody's laughing and singing and enjoying themselves. And I think if you're a happy-go-lucky guy, you just want to have that party where everybody comes to your house and say, "Hey, I had a hell of a great time. When is your next event?" And that's the way I've been my whole life. My mom, um, which maybe not many people know, she died when I was 19 years old. And but Marge LoGrasso had the personality you wanted to be around. She was beloved by everyone in the neighborhood. When you talk about her funeral in St. Athanasius, talk about 3,000 people showing up for her funerals. The whole church was full. That says something about the neighborhood, the lady she was. And I definitely took after my mother in being that person who made sure everybody had some meal to eat, everybody had a good time, you had laughs, and everybody enjoyed when I was having a party. And a couple of parties I threw here and the residents I have now with all the big time golfers and wise guy golfers that are here. Hey Vito, I heard you throwing a party. You didn't invite me. You're invited. I just didn't get a chance to see you. All right, good. I didn't want to make sure I missed it because I heard you throw good parties. Just so they could be a part of it, right? And I'm mixing drinks and I'm doing pours and I'm doing everything and everybody has food. Everybody's enjoying themselves, laughing, dancing. And this isn't just in your home. It's not a nightclub. And there have been parties, Duke, where I actually rented out a pavilion or I rented out a room, and I threw a party and people loved it. They thought it was the greatest thing ever and had guys donate their DJs and had guys who, um, back in Pennsylvania, we had a chicken guy who used to, roast chickens for us. He said, Vito, I'll do it for you. All you got to do is buy a case of chicken. It was me and my boy Shadow. And I said, that's it. He said, Vito, I just want to be part of the party. I said, all right. I said, here's the money for the chicken. Here's a couple bucks for your gas and everything. I said, just show up. So then when we had a party for the DJ, Vito, you ain't got to pay me, man. I just want to be part of the party. I said, all right. I said, cool. So I used to have a DJ. I used to have the chicken guy. We used to have cornhole. We used to have horseshoes. Or if we were out there in Florida, we come up with some um, a beer pong or horseshoes or whatever, but there was always a theme for a party. And that's what it's all about, is having a good time with people who just want to laugh and smile, forget their problems and leave it at the door because we're not interested. You just here, you could stay from 12 until 12 because that's when my parties usually start. And then, so it's like Come have a good time, man. Leave your part at the door. You ain't got clothes? I got something for you in my closet. You don't have shoes? I got you, man. If you're size 14. You need something? Hey, you got enough food to take home? You need something to drink? Whatever you need, I got you. That's the way I am.
I'm not going to let you off the hook, Don. What's the drink recipe? What do we got? I want to make a big Vito LoGrasso, the Don beverage that's going to knock the socks off of all my guests. What am I making?
Well, we're usually doing rum and cokes, or we're doing some kind of rum runner, or we have vodka specials. If there's a pina colada section, if I have the blender going, with the Bacardi Gold and the pina colada mix, that's always a hit. Um, Usually when you have a party of that size, you try to keep it like to, a liquor and a mixer, so you keep it simple. So this way you're not running. Obviously, I'm not making chocolate martinis, but for the avid party guy, it's usually rum and coke, vodka and tonic, anything that's a 1-2 punch. Um, and then if it's always a beer selection, I'm a shock top and blue moon guy. A lot of guys drink ultra. So I'd always have 3 beers on tap. I'd have every kind of rum there. I'd have some vodkas and all the mixes. So whatever you think you want to drink, hey, it's cool. If you want to try and make a drink or you want to do something, that's good too. There's always a fireball shot glass available. If you go around and give people shots of fireball, I mean, that's always fun. Especially if you're doing the married ladies, when they get looted, let's say, bro, my wife is loaded. Hey, you don't have to pay, you don't have to repay me now and thank me. Just tell me the stories after you're done.
Jesus, he's giving away all the good stuff here, folks. This is why you got to keep checking in on the Friend of Ours podcast. You are literally hearing all of the inside information, all of the great stuff here from a guy who was around that life. Let's just put it like that. Okay. We know Big Vito LoGrasso as a fantastic entertainer. We know him as a guy who really an innovator when it came to giving interviews and coming on podcasts. He was one of the first wrestlers who consistently made himself available for those types of conversations and what have you, going all the way back. And even to this day, you hear the guy communicate so well, great stories about things that he's lived, you know, which is what makes this so fantastic. Vito, what's the best way that folks can keep up with you personally and also check out what you have going on online?
Well, you can go to bigvito.com, and that's my website. We also have X, we have TikTok, we have Twitch, we have YouTube, we have Instagram at the Big Vito brand. You could also get in touch with Duke if you ever need anything. And if you need to get in touch with me and you don't know my email address, it's bigvito@bigvito.com. Contact Duke, he'll get with me. Guys, we're open for any occasion. We'll do anything you need. Um, be like to come to your hometown, share some stories, wrestle in front of your friends, show up at a bar mitzvah. Who knows? Having the Don come and maybe even marry you off. I do have a marriage license to a certificate to marry people. You know that I got it all.
This guy, listen. He can get it all for you. You need a filet mignon. You need a goomar. You need to get married. Whatever. This guy can get it.
Even if I got to sit with some people's moms because all the moms love me. You know what I'm saying, Duke?
Hey, don't be fresh, as the old timers would say. Don't be fresh.
No, I'm just letting the moms know. Love me. I know. I
Oh
got you,
my
ladies.
God, you're gonna get me in trouble.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not getting you in
Listen, don't
trouble.
forget,
It's
my
just
mom
that,
packs heat.
yeah, I know. I love her heat. That's why we're such good friends.
Oh my God. Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, on Twitter, Duke Loves Rasslin at gmail.com. Keep those messages coming in. Let us know what you think. Send in your questions. Vito is so candid. This is your opportunity to learn about the lifestyle, to learn about some customs, to learn what not to do, more importantly. In fact, next episode, we're going to go over some of these do's and don'ts, especially when you could potentially be crossing paths with somebody from the lifestyle. Got to be careful, folks. You know how it goes. Anyway, folks, we appreciate you. We thank you. Last week, you drove us all the way up to the top of the charts. That was fantastic. Let's keep this ball rolling. The Friend of Ours podcast on the Duke Loves Rasslin network. Share it with all of your friends. This is not a pro wrestling podcast. This is a podcast about life, Italian culture. You learn a little bit of something about things that used to happen in the past. Most of all, you hear us, two great friends having a good time. Friends of ours. That's right. So, with that said, the Don, Big Vito LoGrasso, take us out with one last quote, brother.
Everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy your Christmas, and a salute to you and your family.
A friend of ours, he'll stand up tall. Through gunfire smoke, he'll never fall. With heart of gold and steel resolve, a mystery we'll never solve.